We managed to break records even for ourselves that we never thought we would do.
Avatar and its sequel are seriously breathtaking, at least for the cast. But you can't even fathom how difficult filming underwater was. Creating worlds from scratch with newly invented tech brought some of the biggest feats the film world has ever seen.
We just try to be kind of true to what people loved about the first film.
Number 1. We're holding our breaths in anticipation, but that's definitely not what we're talking about here. Kate Winslet learned to hold her breath for a super long time.
Kate Winslet held her breath for 7 minutes. Like, that is...
R.I.P. Kate Winslet.
Actually, it was 7 minutes and 14 seconds, but who's counting? She did beat out Tom Cruise, who held his breath for 6 minutes. But if all this is impressing you, the Guinness Book of World Records says that the record is 24 minutes and 3 seconds. So it kinda puts Winslet to shame. But who are we to talk? The average is only 60 to 90 seconds. Number 2. It's no secret that James Cameron continues to reshape film forever. When it came to the original Avatar, they were inventing new technology all over the place. Many people thought this couldn't be topped in the sequel, that all of the innovation had led to its success, and Avatar 2 would fall flat. But that isn't the case at all. James Cameron is still changing the game with leading motion capture techniques. Just this time, he had to dive deep into the water to make history. Motion capture underwater had never been done before this movie.
So, as always, me and Zoe know we're the guinea pigs.
To create all of these stunning scenes, a gigantic 900,000-gallon performance capture tank was built in New Zealand.
So we're thrown in the deep end with all this technology on us.
Number 3. There's no freedom in freediving.
He had us working with, like, world-renowned, free divers.
The cast did this for weeks to get acclimated to not just the water, but the great depths at which they would be shooting in. Nobody mentioned the temperature, but we bet it was freezing, too. There's a consistent pattern of water always being ice-cold for shooting. It's kind of hard to keep giant pools of liquid warm. That's just the way of water. Number 4. You'd think playing a child would be a breeze compared to playing an adult.
Probably the most challenging for me was to physically play a 14-year-old girl.
While Sigourney Weaver definitely still has such a bubbly demeanor, we can't believe she's in her 70s. We definitely don't think she's 14 though, but thanks to the power of CGI and the magic of training and memory, she was able to pull off a captivating performance as the Na'vi, Kiri. At least, from what we can tell from the trailer so far. She definitely found the age of her character to be the biggest challenge, and we will gladly accept whatever deus ex machina or forced plot move they're spoon-feeding us to bring back Dr. Grace Augustine. Sigourney's memories of actually being that young were excruciating for her.
Because I was this tall, that's 5'11", when I was 11.
Number 5. The older folks in the cast are proving they still got it.
We went through training that included things that I don't do.
Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver found all the training, the parkour, archery, and diving to be intense.
I was determined that I could do everything everyone else could.
Number 6. You wouldn't think flying would be tough when they're filming feet from the ground. During the promo tour for The Way of Water, Zoe Saldaña found the flying sequences were the most rewarding this time around. Because they were fun to shoot, but because of how the final product turned out.
The way that we shot it, it was so different from how it translated in the final sort of step.
She was just amazed at seeing what was possible from what they were working with, which was basically just the imagination. Honestly, Saldaña got to see just 20 minutes of The Way of Water and was moved to tears. Number 7. It's okay to be afraid. Courage comes from facing those fears. Sam Worthington was also feeling the stress of the underwater shoot, saying, "It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. You're dealing with the restrictions of freediving, the constraints of motion capture underwater, and you're trying to keep an emotional journey going." While we imagine the rest of the cast was also going through this, Sam was the first one to admit that on top of it all, he was innately struggling with his fear of not making it out alive. Number 8. We don't know how these guys managed without Duolingo.
Let me hear this line as written in Na'vi.
Any scenes that involved the actors speaking the Na'vi language required literally learning a whole new language, made up by Dr. Paul Frommer.
They speak the same order as German, which is I to the store go.
Ich zum Laden gehen. After over 400 days of Duolingo practice, something doesn't sound right here. Ich gehe zum Laden. Yeah, that's much better. We double-checked with our trusty sidekick, Google, too. Have you picked up a course on Duolingo? Number 9. Try learning a made-up language, translating it back to English, and including an accent. Zoe Saldaña had to single-handedly create the Na'vi accent in English, since she had the most lines in the movie, which was incredibly difficult and a lot of weight on her shoulders.
I basically said, Zoe, you get to establish what Na'vi sounds like.
Everybody else just had to do their best to copy her. Number 10. We don't take too kindly to folks telling us what's impossible around here. Shooting a bow and arrow required training and was difficult because the director asked that Zoe Saldaña flip her arm backwards. James Cameron was told what he wanted to achieve was impossible. So he walked over and did the stunt himself to prove it was totally possible. What a sassy guy. Honestly, just 20 years ago, even filming Avatar was impossible. The film crew had to invent it all themselves, so James Cameron isn't the only one not to take too kindly to the word impossible when it comes to simple things like archery. Number 11. The actors let animals be their guides. All of the Na'vi movement required a ton of physical work, and this was a process every day, as anything that looked even remotely human had to be reshot.
We had to constantly be on them every day about how they were fighting.
They had coaches to get them moving animal-like.
And I always wanted to do a film where I was physically challenged, not only mentally.
This didn't just stop with character movement, but there was also a dance choreographer. Number 12. Doubling for multiple actors really boosts the work required. The stunt doubles really had their work cut out for them. They were being flipped around haphazardly and had to swing across vines like Tarzan. The cool thing about being a double in a CGI movie, though, is you can take a lot more work on because you don't need to have the exact same look as the actor you're doubling. Number 13. James Cameron didn't trust the actors' imaginations. In order to capture authentic performances, James Cameron took the actors into nature to engage their sense memories. Being out in nature with only half their clothes on, roaming through the jungles of Kauai would certainly be an experience one wouldn't forget.
Your body reacts differently to things once you've actually gone out and done those things.
Number 14. Sam Worthington had double duty, learning to be Na'vi and military. Worthington had to go through actual military training to take part in the movie, learning how to use many different weapons in the process.
We had to take Sam and teach him how to be military as well.
Number 15. Making humans and Na'vi interact on screen was excruciating. Anytime you had both humans and avatars in a scene, you needed to film twice and overlay either the humans or the Na'vi. This led to slightly awkward interactions. Getting off of dry land sure changed everything for the cast and crew. It sounds like The Way of Water has really pushed the actors in ways they never would have expected. Are you excited to explore something new in the world of Avatar? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for hanging out with us here at The Things.